No, he's a fantastic actor. So I was very excited to firstly work with him because I feel like in any film, a lot of actors can switch off and switch on. Dhanush for that matter. I always feel that it's very important for you to not judge the character when you're playing it. So I need to know my why of every scene. Mukti's character is not all on paper. You know, it doesn't have the crutches of dialogues in every scene. There's a lot that's unsaid. Toxicity is more from one side, I feel, in most cases. Ranjana is also a film that has stayed with a lot of people. You know, you remember the scenes, you remember the dialogues. Param Sundari, I think, was the one.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it to go that viral at that point. I didn't even at that point, I used to not watch Telugu films. I had grown up watching just Hindi films. So I didn't even know how big a superstar Mahesh Babu was. I want you to where you're screaming and now imagine it actually coming out. So it's like a slightly bigger, final jerk that happens. They now don't want to come to you with a less kind of a role. A lot of people kind of put you in a box very soon and say, Acha, she's a glamorous girl.
Darling Solar 20,500 முன்பணத்தில் இப்பொழுது சோலார் மூலம் இலவச மின்சாரம்.
No compromise. உங்க சைடுலயும் எங்க சைடுலயும். It's a GT promise.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
Hi Kriti.
Hello.
Very nice meeting you.
Same
You're
here.
really, really tall.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about this and this is legend in Bollywood and all that, but now that I'm seeing you, it's like, wow, this is like, do you get co-stars who are
shorter?
Are shorter, yeah.
I think I've mostly worked with shorter co-stars.
Okay.
I mean, probably Arjun and Prabhas were the only taller co-stars.
Okay.
Everyone else who I've worked with has been shorter.
So what did they do? They stand on a stool or something?
Firstly, I don't think it matters so much, especially when I feel like chemistry is a lot about close-ups.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we kind of figure it out.
No, I'm not asking.
Whether it's a patla or whether it's me wearing flats and them wearing like a little bit of a heel in their shoe. Or
Right.
these days, anyways, chunky shoes are really in.
Okay.
So it's a good thing. But I mean, it's never been much of
Okay.
an issue. Karthik's also taller. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was thinking, koi to tha.
Koi to
Yeah,
tha. Okay.
yeah.
So, congratulations on Tere, Ishq mein and your performance in
Thank
it, which
you.
I thought is your best so far. Even though Mimi is a very good performance and you got the national award for it, but I thought this is like something truly special because it's a very twisted character and not somebody you see regularly, and you captured that insanity really, really well, especially in the terrace scene, and we'll talk about all that.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Because playing crazy as if it's real, I think it's really difficult, and I think you managed it throughout this movie. You and Dhanush actually, so it's like a...
No, he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to firstly work with him because I feel like in any film, whatever he brings to the character is just really special.
Dhanush we know because
Yeah.
especially those of us from Chennai know he's
Yeah,
a damn good
of
actor,
course,
right?
of
So
course.
there's no surprise there.
Yeah.
So, but just the... And I love Aanand's work, and I'm one of the few people who actually like Zero. So it's been an all-round thing. So this is a good movie. We'll talk about it. But before that, I want to start with this Heath Ledger quote. So it's a quote that I quote often to my friends to ask them, and it's this: everyone you meet always asks if you have a career, whether you're married or own a house, as if life was some kind of grocery list. But no one ever asks you if you're happy.
True that.
Okay. Are you happy?
True that. Yeah, I'm really happy.
Okay.
But I'm exhausted at this point. So
Okay.
it's very difficult to kind of answer it in plain yes or no.
Okay.
So I'm really happy in the phase of life that I am in.
Okay. Which is like career-wise.
Professionally, personally,
Okay,
everything. I
okay.
feel like I'm at peace. But at the same time, I'm a little all over the place with my schedule. So that kind of sometimes doesn't let you feel enough. Because to even feel the happiness, the joy, the response to a release, you kind of need to take a break because you need to absorb it.
Process.
Yeah, process it. So I think Yes, I am happy, really happy. Touch wood, I keep saying that. मुझे तो खुद की नज़र लग जाती है, so I want to say that. But hectic. But I also read a quote which was, what a beautiful privilege it is to be exhausted of something that you've actually begged the universe for at some point in life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that keeps me grounded.
Yeah, because we are doing this interview on a Sunday evening when normal people would be chilling or getting ready, you know.
I don't get to know days, you know. After we locked this interview, I was like, oh no, I'm spoiling someone's Sunday.
No, my Sundays are never mine. So it's like it's...
Really?
Yeah. Because Sundays is usually when shoots are not there.
Yeah.
So many actors call you on a Sunday.
True
so you take your breaks when you can.
Yeah.
Again, it's
at least in our profession, it's like that.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, like you said, if you choose something and you want something and you get it, you can't complain about the other thing.
You shouldn't complain about it.
So,
because that's something that you were craving for. And now that you've gotten it, like, be grateful.
Yeah. But I've heard that your sleep is non-negotiable.
I cannot say that right now because it has been negotiated a lot.
But I read this thing about, you know, how Kriti always sleeps 8 to 10 hours every night.
No, I love sleeping.
Okay.
So I love sleeping for 8 to 10 hours. I'm someone who, you know, if I have like an off day tomorrow, I'm not someone who wakes up really early or whatever. So I like getting that, but I'm not getting that right now. Which I think is the reason when you said, are you happy? I was like, no, I'm not getting sleep. So yeah, but I think it's important. It's important for you to rest, you know, to kind of process the day and to give your best. And I can get very cranky if I'm not getting my sleep.
You're not going to get cranky this interview.
Not here. I'm a good actor also.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's a good one, actually. Yeah. So I'll go back to Nenokadine, your first film in 2014. That's a pre-Pushpa Sukumar directing it. And then you have Mahesh Babu as your co-star. That's like as big a debut as anybody can ask for.
Yeah.
You know. But was it a happy place for you? It's a new language. It's a new profession. You have to know how to handle lights, camera. How was that experience for you? Because now I'm seeing you as a rewarded. You've gotten the national award, and you know, for Mimi, and you're this well-rewarded person. You have this wonderful house. All that has happened. But back then, when you first faced the camera, what was it like?
I was actually, I didn't know anything.
Okay.
Like, I've not had any theatre background. I've not, you know, done any sort of workshops really. I just felt I loved being in front of the moving camera, and I felt it through ads where you hardly act.
Yeah.
And then I groomed myself only by giving auditions, by being horrible at it first, and then somewhere kind of getting better and understanding my craft, the process. But yeah, Nenokkarne, I feel like for me, I was a little lost, absorbing everything. The engineer student who was trying to learn, camera facing and mark, and if I'm doing this much, it's only being seen this much. So in a close up, you know, how much I need to do, in a wide what I need to do. I used to feel like I'm a great dancer because I used to love dancing, but I realized that when you're dancing in front of a camera, it's a very different thing. Your body, the way you feel like it's looking, it's not looking like that. So you got to be conscious of it. So it was a learning experience. It was a very new world. It was a language I didn't know at all. I didn't even at that point, I used to not watch Telugu films. I had grown up watching just Hindi films. So I didn't even know how big a superstar Mahesh Babu was, you know. So when I met him like, you know, in a very chill manner, like a normal person, like someone who's a senior, of course. But I didn't know like the craze of it. And of course I got to know while shooting with people. But I think I had a very kind team. And Sukumar Garu is just a lovely human being, very honest, very transparent. He cannot lie, he cannot fake it. And I love that. And he used to write dialogues sometimes on the set. Like in the morning, I would get the dialogues. And I remember him saying that, you know, you're a good actor and everything, and that's why I've taken you. But one more reason I've taken you is that because you have a good memory. You know, you can learn fast. I think that came from my engineering background because we used to kind of ratta a lot of, stuff. And it was a learning process for me. It was everything.
Do you remember a dialogue?
No. I just
It's
remember
not that
out
good
was
a
a
memory.
mokarta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a short-term memory.
Okay.
So it's like after my exam is done, I forget.
Okay.
So it's that.
Okay.
But I'll remember steps. I'll remember choreographies, most of them, like
Okay.
hook steps and all. So I feel like dance is something that was my first love before I even knew I could act. So Aut was a Mukkarta, I know. I may even know the lyrics of the song, but that's about it.
That's about it. Okay. Which do you think is the film that really established or cemented you as an actor? Do you think it's Bareli Ki Barfi or Mimi?
See, Bareli Ki Barfi was too soon. I don't think I had the craft back then. I mean, I'm still learning, I say that, because I feel like you can always grow and get better.
Yeah.
But Bareli Ki Barfi was that first film where people noticed me and said, oh, she can act.
Right.
So it was that first, breaking of a barrier. Or, before that I had done Dilwale, I had done Heropanti.
Yeah.
And Rapta, I think, it had not released when I was shooting. So a lot of people kind of put you in a box very soon and say, acha, she's a glamorous girl. You know, she's an urban looking girl.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to get something like Bareli Ki Barfi, where I sort of play this small town girl coming from Bareilly, which not a lot of people could imagine me do, and not be, glamorous in the way I was, and I loved it. I loved the less hair makeup time. I loved the wearing pajamas and sweaters, not being bothered about how I'm looking, and purely performing and acting.
Right.
First time I took a dialect on, so that was fun. So I feel like people sort of noticed me in that for my acting. And then I feel Mimi sort of took it a step further, where it kind of slightly cemented it into a more serious actor and talent zone. I feel like that kind of woke a lot of people up to, oh, she can do a lot more.
Okay.
And I feel like also for the first time I kind of got that much to show. I always say जितना घड़ा है उतना ही भर सकते हैं.
Yeah.
अगर इतना सा घड़ा है तो मैं इतना ही डाल पाऊंगी मैं उस रोल में और कुछ.
You can't really.
I can't really do more than what it gives me.
Yeah.
And I think Mimi sort of gave me a lot to do.
Right.
And it was the first time I was sort of headlining, a film and sort of, carrying it on my shoulders. It had a range, of the character from being this vulnerable, naive, girl who kind of talks to Ranveer Singh's posters and says, I'm coming and I'm going to act and मैं सबकी band बजा दूंगी, to becoming the surrogate mother, to, sort of maturing in the film and where the film ends. So I feel like that was the first time I kind of, something inside me opened up.
Right.
And I realized that I could do more. And yeah.
Now, the director Lakshman Otekar, the scene where you give birth, he told you that in a lot of movies, the women just scream 3-4 times and then the baby is born.
Yeah.
And you said that he actually wanted the viewers to feel the pain of the delivery, the childbirth. That's very true, because in most movies you see a sweaty face and somebody saying push, and then the woman cries and next
The baby
scene,
is born.
the baby is born.
Yeah.
The doctor's holding it up or the midwife is holding it up.
And sometimes it goes into a comical zone.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Take me through this acting process of actually trying to convince the viewer about the pain that you're going through.
The funny bit is that I genuinely don't know the pain.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced
That's
it.
exactly why.
So
yeah.
for me, I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Because I don't want to just fake it. It has to feel real. And he was I want every man to sort of look at their wife and be like, oh my God, you did this.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of videos.
Okay.
A lot of not very pleasant ones and really intense ones, real videos a lot on YouTube. He used to send me stuff to watch to kind of get a vibe of it. I did ask my mother, how is it like, what do you feel? Like, how painful is it? And she said, I felt like I'm going to die on that bed. And I was like, okay, that's not helping, but okay. So I feel like in the moment when we were there, I just kind of had seen enough to have an idea of what a woman could be possibly going through. And then the rest kind of becomes about being in the moment for me as an actor. And I remember Lakshman sir was throughout there and he was guiding, and he kind of like told me at the end that when you do the final push, I want you to like, where you're screaming and now imagine it actually coming out. So it's like a slightly bigger, final jerk that happens. And that really helped. But I think we were just in the moment. He had like 2 cameras going on in different angles, moving to have the energy of the pain and the chaos.
Right.
And he's been a DOP before, so I feel like he always looks at it from, also a cameraman's lens. So when it happened, it just happened.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he shot it the way he did. There was a lot more footage than what we showed.
Yeah. No, you said that you relied a lot on emotional memory at certain points in your film career to kind of recreate a tough moment or something like that, like maybe your dad leaving you alone or something like that, going back to Delhi while you were in Bombay alone or something like that. And then you realized after a point that even though that was helpful, it was not good for your mental health, and that your therapist advised you not to do this to that extent and to kind of, like try acting. Was this Mimi scene, did it rely on emotional memory?
So this is where I started
Okay.
experimenting with emotional memory, because before that I kind of used to feel, and I always say that now I realize that you should not limit your process. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is what works for me and this doesn't work for me. But I think sometimes you got to give the room to, try, hit and trial, because it may not work all the times, but when it does some magic. I remember in Heropanti, I had to cry in one scene, and I just had a fight with someone in the vanity van, and I had sort of cried. So I was like, oh, let me, actors do this, and let me, like, I've not had any training. So for me, I was always like, let me try method acting.
But you read about it?
Yeah, I'd heard actors speak about it. So I was like, oh, let me go back to what I was feeling in the vanity. But I just couldn't, I couldn't do it. I felt like I was over with that emotion and I wasn't coming back. And then I tried just being the character and trying to figure what the character went through just before, and that helped. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm more of a switch off, switch on. I can't go back to my emotional memory. During Mimi, there's one scene where it's like the peak of her breakdown.
Yeah.
And she puts powder on her face and she's crying and she's tearing her wallpapers and all of that.
Kind of,
yeah, and it wasn't really choreographed. So Lakshman sir kind of left me free and he just asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm here, and I would put powder, and at some point I'm assuming I would scream or throw it, and I would kind of go to the bed and I'll tear it. Now, I had to tear the posters and there were only one set of posters. So I knew that ye ek hi take milega, I can't do more than one. And I was psyching myself up because it was a montage, it didn't even have dialogues or real sound. I was psyching myself up with some memory, and I was seeing some pictures, and something that had really mentally affected me, emotionally affected me, and I was trying to get it back. And I did get like a lump in my throat, and I got emotional, and I was like, okay. And then I started walking towards the set when they called me. While I was walking, it all went back. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not feeling it anymore. Oh no, I'm not feeling it. And I went in front of the camera and I was like, chuck it, let me just go back to what I do. I'll think about the character. And I started performing like that. But when I screamed, I don't know what happened. Maybe everything that I had tried to bring up had gone down, but it kind of exploded. And when I started tearing the posters and I started crying, I really started crying and howling. And Lakshman sir said cut, and I kept crying and I couldn't stop. And that was shocking for me because I felt like I was more switch off, switch on. I could start laughing the moment you say cut after crying. And it didn't happen for the first time. And that's when I was like, oh, this can work for me sometimes. So I have, going forward, tried it a few times. Like I tried it in Dopatti in some scenes to again go back to an emotional memory, which, is somewhere, there is always something that kind of gets you riled up or emotional. And I did that and I got the scene happened great. After a week or 10 days, I completely felt very low, very, very low for a good 7 to 8 days. And I couldn't understand why, it was just weird. And I meditate with this one woman, not my therapist, but actually I meditate with her. It's to do with visualization and all, and I share a lot with her.
Oh, sorry. So it was not your therapist?
No, not therapist.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I told her, I said, I don't know why I'm feeling this, but I'm feeling extremely low. And she knew what film I was doing. So she was like, was there a scene or was there anything? And you did something? And I said, yeah, there was a scene. And I kind of went back to my emotional memory, which she knew about. And she was like, can you please stop doing that? So I was like, but it helps me. She's like, yeah, great, Kriti. You, I know you're hungry. I know you want to be a good actor. I know you want to perform your best. But you also want to be a happy person, right? It's about your life. What you're doing is you're going back to a wound and you're kind of poking it again and again and you're not letting it heal.
Yeah.
So you need to stop doing that. So all the memories that I had in my phone, which I was like, kind of holding on to somewhere, and sometimes using it for some scenes when I knew it's going to affect me, I just went to my phone and I deleted everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I shouldn't do this anymore. And it's not good for my mental health. And I feel like as actors, sometimes, we want to give our 100%, but it's a job that demands a lot of emotional and mental part of you, and you give a lot every time, especially to intense roles. And sometimes subconsciously you don't know what it's doing to yourself. A lot of actors can switch off and switch on. Dhanush, for that matter, and we had this conversation because he also said that he used to do the same thing that I was doing and he used to get really affected. But over time, of course, he's worked for a lot of years. He's worked for a lot more than me. And he was like, now I've trained myself to stop doing that. So he can actually be watching a match when they say roll camera. And even on the terrace scene, he can be watching the score of a match. And the moment they say action, he's in it.
Okay.
And then he's out of it. So I'm still trying to train myself.
So in a way, you prioritized your mental health over a potential great performance.
I think you just have to train yourself to find other ways of getting there.
That's a great way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like I can sort of find other ways and I need to get more into the character than me.
Yeah.
Because there are ways to get into the character's head.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that and be sane than get into my own head again and again and sort of mess up life.
Yeah. But thank you, Kriti, because that's really the best explanation of emotional memory acting that I've heard, because I know people get into the zone, but the way you explained it, that sometimes it's the switch on, switch off, sometimes it's you can't access that memory, you use other things. I mean, that was, you really took us through it very well, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Did you use emotional memory at all in Tere, Ishq?
No.
Okay.
At all.
So it was switch on, switch off.
It's not switch on, switch off. Like I'm not someone who can watch a match and be, in it.
Right.
I need my a minute before an important, intense bit. I need to kind of, sometimes if it is a very serious scene, I don't like in the vanity joking around too much.
Right.
So I'm sort of, like I try and put myself in low energy mode or low emotionally by doing other things like not talking much or but I'm not damn serious. I'm not very like people are scared to come around me. No, but I won't joke around maybe if it's a very serious scene. So yeah, I did try to find other ways to get there.
Right. So I mentioned the terrace scene, but even before that, like just to vaguely acquaint people that may not have seen the movie, you and Dhanush have been in a relationship, a kind of situationship, let's say, or whatever it.
Not even a situationship.
Yeah, it's okay. We have a long. Okay, that's
Yeah.
a very long conversation, but let's not go there. Okay, so but okay, whatever ship it is, you were in that ship, and you're meeting him after a very long time. So the very first time you guys, or rather we see you guys meet, it's this ridiculously intense scene because you are facing the camera and you're like literally trying to like hold on to every ounce of your control and kind of not look back and see him at once because you kind of want to compose yourself and then look back. He kind of enters, something tells him that, okay, my God, she's back. And he's like, again, so both of you are doing this very controlled kind of throbbing, if I may say so, vibrating in each other's presence, like all your molecules are ablaze kind of thing. It's like, and then his eyes fill with tears and he looks at you, and then that's the time that you kind of look at him. How did you guys get through that? I mean, was it for him, you're saying it's just a switch on, for him you're saying it's just a switch on, switch off thing?
Yeah.
Right. For you, what was that?
No, for him it's a switch off, switch on thing, but I also realized that he's also a very prepared actor.
Right.
He thinks of what he wants to do. So he thinks of how he's going to go about with that scene. So he's got a very strong hold on his craft.
Right.
For me, I think I also sort of prepare.
Okay.
I do my homework. I try and see what more can I do. Because sometimes you don't want to rely on ideas coming at that point.
Right.
You know, so you kind of think before. But then when you're on set, you also take a little from the co-actor and you from the ambience and then what happens in the moment. So you let yourself flow after being prepared.
Right.
That was one scene that I know Aanand sir was obsessed with, where, you know, I feel like every director does this, every actor does this. You mark certain scenes that are like your favorite scenes that scare you but also excite you. And that was one scene. And I remember him just telling me that, I know you guys are not saying anything, but I need to feel everything. And I need to see all the years that have, you know, gone by. All the pain and all the, everything that's gone between the both of you, I want to see it in your silences. So when you turn before that, I need to see what you're feeling.
Right.
So, yeah, I think his emotional directions are what kind of used to get that special thing out. And for Mukti, I feel like, I mean, of course, we can get into detail of it, but I can just say from my backstory or what I felt. Like, I felt like when he leaves and she tries to go and look for him, the kind of person he is, there is a huge part of me that feels that he may have actually killed himself. I don't know if he's alive. With his dad dying, with the last bruise battered that I saw him. I don't know if he's alive. And for her to know firstly he's alive, and then she's hearing his voice after so long, and now she doesn't know how to look at him.
Yeah.
But she has to. So it was all of that and more, which I think just beautifully translated. It didn't take too many takes. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How many takes do you remember?
Him, one. I used to tell him, you're a one-take artist, you know, and me, I think maybe 2 or 3, because sometimes I feel that what you're doing, you feel it's visible, but then it's not as visible. Then you have to kind of amp it up. And sometimes also Aanand sir wanted in a certain time frame.
Okay.
He wanted to keep the whole reaction and then I turn.
Okay.
So he didn't want it too long, but he didn't want it too short. So all of that.
At what point did you lose camera consciousness? Because that particular scene, for instance, because you're facing the camera and facing the audience, you need to be doing all these things which you know that are an outside, like this camera assistant or something could be looking at you and wondering, what is she doing or whatever, because they may not know the whole story or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? So was that just right from the beginning, you did not have it at all?
Can
or?
I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't think I've completely lost it.
You
I
still
think
have
it's still, I still have
Okay,
it.
so you're still outside the character bit.
So I'll tell you, I feel like when the scenes are intense and there is a lot more emotion and depth in the scene, you go in deeper to the character.
Right.
And that's when you kind of don't have the camera consciousness because you're so involved and invested in it. Camera consciousness, I personally feel it in simpler scenes.
Okay.
When there's not much happening, when there's no like deeper emotion, there's just a conversation. And that too, you feel it the moment the camera comes close. Before that, you don't feel it.
Okay.
So I feel it's interesting because it's still there somewhere. And I also feel I've been a very shy kid. I was always very shy. I had stage fright growing up till a very long time.
Right.
Even now, sometimes if I'm going and performing, those few seconds before going on stage, there is that nervousness and everything. So yeah, there's a part of me that shy kid somewhere is still there, and I feel like she kind of comes out and says hi every now and then. So, but I feel like that's why when it's an intense scene, I don't feel as conscious, and my only theory can be that I'm so into what I'm doing emotionally that I don't see anyone else.
Right. When I'm asking you to verbalize these things that are very instinctive and emotional, do you have to think a bit?
No.
No. Because you process it yourself.
Yeah. That way I'm kind of self-aware, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel all these things I also, because there are times where you're like, why am I getting conscious? Like what is, you feel your heart rate sort of raise and you're like,
why? Is this
why?
happening?
Yeah.
I've been through so many years.
Yeah. But I've also accepted that it's normal.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's good that you're nervous still.
Yeah.
Because I think that also kind of keeps you on your toes. You don't get like complacent and you don't become like, I know what I'm doing.
So Mukti is your character. At what point did you feel in Tere Ishq Mein that you really found her or you really knew her? Was it when you read the script, or was it on a particular day of shoot when, okay, now I know who this person is? When did you find her?
I think it was through the film, through the
shooting. You
shooting.
kept finding her throughout?
Yeah, because the present was shot later.
Yeah.
We shot linear in terms of her life. So we shot the college bits and, she changes, right? She's changing at every point.
Yeah.
What she starts off with and what she finally becomes are almost two different people, I feel.
Yeah.
So I found the present Mukti maybe around, I think the scene where I go to his house.
Oh.
Somewhere there. And the terrace scene. We actually shot the terrace scene first, so maybe that.
Okay.
And I found the one that she becomes later, I think through it. When she kind of says still aggressive and still angry.
Yeah.
That maybe that scene somewhere.
Yeah.
But obviously it was way more easier to understand the final one eventually when I had gone through everything.
Yeah. So when you've seen the film, right? The finished film.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because sometimes,
No, I have.
Yeah, you have.
I have.
How did you react?
To the film, I'm terrible. I'm very critical. So if you show it to me the first time, my reaction is like very, like even the best film or a film that everyone's raving about, I can be like quiet.
Yeah.
But when it sank in, I was really proud of it. I felt it was something special.
Nice.
And I felt it was gutsy. And I felt like it was fearless and it didn't try to be safe. And that's what I loved. And I loved when I was talking to people, I loved how morally at a point people were like, I felt like, okay, maybe he's right. No, but she's also right in her place. He's also a little wrong and she's also a little wrong. I felt that was refreshing.
Yeah, I like films where, it's in this very, very ambiguous gray zone.
Yeah.
Where you don't know, because there's a line that she says early on where she says, I look at it as work, you look at it as love. But that's a very dangerous thing to instigate in a guy, because it's like not guy, anybody. Like even if it had been a guy telling this to the girl, because if somebody is emotional enough to look at it as love, then you're putting that person in a very vulnerable space. But at the same time, he's also, doing his own.
But you know what? I felt like, firstly, I had to go back and tell myself she is in college.
Yeah.
You're not as mature or as
No.
thoughtful of everything.
That's the beauty of the character.
And the guy,
Yeah.
she doesn't take him seriously till a point. He's
Yeah.
not, he doesn't take himself seriously.
Yeah.
The way he's talking, कि अरे कोई एक बस ये बोल दे या फिर 10 रुपए का बंटा पिला दे उसके लिए कोई करेगा. So the way he's talking, even he's not taking himself seriously.
Yeah.
So I think even in her manipulation there was a certain sense of being naive.
Innocent. Whatever.
Innocent, yeah.
Immature.
Yeah, how I looked at her. So I feel like, firstly, I always feel that it's very important for you to not judge the character when you're playing it.
Yeah.
So I need to know my why of every scene.
But do you have a line that you won't cross? Like, for example, okay, I'll play this much, but this is somewhere I cannot go, Like
In general?
In general. Like, for the usual example I give is serial killer or something like that,
No,
like,
I'd be okay playing serial killer.
Yeah.
But as long as you're showing very obviously that the serial killer is wrong.
Okay.
I don't want to ever play a character that I feel is morally extremely wrong.
Okay.
And is glorified in that sense. So I feel like that is a very grey area for me. Like, I'd love to do a Gone Girl, but I don't want you to feel like, oh, she's right.
Okay.
I want you to feel she's messed up.
Yeah.
She's not okay in the head.
Yeah.
So I feel as an actor, it's very exciting, in fact, to do stuff that you are not, and morally you don't agree with. But it's the lens that you look at the character from,
Right. And is that why you started your production company, so you can create roles for yourself that maybe they're not writing for you?
I mean, that's how the first one happened. But before that, when I was shooting for Mimi, I was so passionate about that film and I was just so involved in the project that I felt like, I want to be involved in certain films beyond just being an actor.
Yeah.
Because it gave me a certain sense of creative satisfaction, and I was like, almost obsessed with the film and what it was trying to say. And I was like, that would have been probably the first film that I would have wanted to produce in life because it had my heart. So I felt like that was the time I felt that I want to do this at some point. And then I was sort of looking for something meaty, as a character, and not too many people were writing enough stuff. Sometimes the character was good, the film was not, So I wasn't finding that opportunity, and I was really like restless because I was like, now for my satisfaction, I need it. I need to push the envelope. And that's when I kind of met Kanika. And we were meeting before that, very on and off. I feel like she writes beautifully layered characters. So I was like, I want to do something.
I love Manmarzia.
Yeah, I mean, she loves...
That's hers, right?
Yeah, of course. So and she just asked me, what subject do you, is there anything on your mind? And I was like, you know what, I feel a lot for domestic violence, and I feel like it's not been done enough, and it's not been looked at differently.
Right.
So, and she that time had like a twin story which had nothing to do with domestic violence, and she just had a twin story of like how twins kind of sometimes miss having an identity and they don't like each other. And I was like, that's interesting, double role, I haven't done it, okay fine, let me know. And then she kind of merged these two together, and that was it. I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. So the name of a production company, Blue Butterfly, why?
Firstly, I don't know, I've always been attracted to that blue butterfly emoticon.
Okay.
I feel I've unknowingly used it in like, my captions sometimes when I write poetry, even on my bio, it was just there. I find something very vibrant and, it kind of signifies freedom for me. And I also feel butterfly is, it's like, it has a journey, it symbolizes change. It symbolizes sort of transforming yourself from being like a caterpillar to becoming this beautiful butterfly and then flying. And I feel like my journey has been like that, where I've not always been the butterfly. I've learnt it on the job. And yeah, so that was
Nice.
That was it.
There are many actors that have played twin roles before. When you get into that zone, do you say, I should play these twins in a way that nobody has ever played them? Do you set yourself that ambition? Or do you just say, I want to play these characters as written? Is that the goal?
I think the second one.
Okay.
Because I feel that, most of the films that I've seen with twin stories, both the characters are in different setups and different environments, and at some point they meet. Whether you see Judwa, or whether you see Chalbaz, or Tanu as Manu Returns, the two different people completely, they haven't ever met. Here, in my case, they were sisters, and 70% of my scenes were with myself.
Yeah.
So I couldn't actually just say that, oh, I want to do it like how that was so different. But these are sisters.
Yeah.
The point is that sisters are alike, but also very different.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was to find how these two sisters can just be very different, hate each other, but still at some core level be attached. What is their baggage like? How they're two different personalities who've gone through the same incident in their childhood, but taken it differently. Everyone, I think, from their experiences can take things differently. There are people who go into a shell, there are people who kind of fight it out, there are people who become like rebels, so I feel like that was interesting for me, that their baggage was same.
Did you draw on the relationship that you have with your sister in any way for this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, these were like really, they kind of hated each other. So I don't think it was far from my equation with my sister.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
There are certain films that you said you went to acting workshops for. Which films were those? Or were there certain scenes or?
The first one I went for was Mimi.
Okay. Mimi is really the beginning of a lot of things for you.
Yeah, it is. It did open up a lot in me, I feel like. I matured as a person. I think it kind of gave me a lot of confidence. It made me hungrier. I was hungry. I was looking for an opportunity for a very long time.
Right.
But I also feel like it happens when you're ready.
Yeah.
And I was ready. So that is when I kind of started, because it was the first time I was headlining something. I wanted to find a different way. I wanted to also find a bouncing board to, see how I can do things and be prepared. Then I did for a portion of, just to find Sifra.
Okay.
Weirdly, because it had no emotions.
Teri Baaton Mein
Yeah,
Uljha
Teri
Jiya.
Baaton Mein Uljha Jiya. She had no emotions. So usually one wouldn't go for a workshop there. But I feel like it was so important for me to find her, because I didn't know, there was no reference point.
Right.
And it had a lot to do with body language and tonality, and also to find when a robot malfunctions, what all can I do?
Yeah.
So I feel like I use these workshops where it's almost like, कभी-कभी डंडा चाहिए होता है ना सर पे, to sit and study.
Yeah.
So it's my study time, I feel. And I like having someone to just chat with, explore, do a scene maybe once, feel how it felt, and then, find a different way of doing it. And in that you find some magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it also because, see, as people, we have the same face, the same smile, the same, we do everything a certain way.
Yeah.
And maybe you're putting yourself through this workshop to kind of do something a little differently under somebody else's supervision?
Yeah, so I would do a workshop only if I feel like that I want to find something different in this character. There are a lot of characters that don't need that.
Yeah.
Where there's nothing to the character that can be very
Right.
different. So
like Crew, you would not probably.
Yeah,
need
exactly. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's more about situational comedy. It's more about chemistry with actors.
Right.
It's not so much about your character and the character's depth.
Right.
Dopati was. I had to find those differences in these two girls.
So you went to a workshop for
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that I did. So for me, every time I feel like I need to find this character, I need to make this character different from me, or find something unique, or there is some scene that I feel like I don't know how I'm going to do this scene. You know, so sometimes I just feel it from inside that, okay, let me just go for like 3 days. It's not a long workshop, it's like 2-3 days where you're just discussing the character, you're just having someone to talk to, getting another perspective, and then eventually you're figuring it all on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get some tools.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Crew is a fun movie that you made, but otherwise, they've all been fairly intense, right?
Teri Baaton Mein is fun.
Okay, yeah. Except for the last portion, maybe. Yeah.
No, last portion also is fun. I
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Because she has no
Yeah.
emotional depth at all.
Yeah.
So for me, it was super fun
Yeah.
to do it. Do Pati was intense, and of course, Tere Ishq Mein is intense.
Do you think your performance in Mimi is what? Did you ask Aanand if that's what made him pick you for?
No, but Mimi was a while back.
Yeah.
So.
But it also kind of, like you said, it also showed a lot of people what you were capable of doing, right?
Yeah, I think Atrangi he made when? He made it before.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, of course, I feel like I've met him a few times.
Yeah.
I've gone to meet him, had food, chatted. He sometimes, tells you a scene of some film, connected with him, came back. I knew that I wanted to work with him. And I also knew that I really wanted to do a love story because it's one of my favorite genres. And there are very few directors who make it well.
When you say love story, you mean a serious love story?
Yeah,
As opposed to Tere
passionate
Baaton
love
Mein.
story.
Yeah.
Not rom-com,
Yeah.
love story.
Yeah.
So, and I used to keep telling him, I'm like, please make love stories. There are very few directors who make them right. But I feel like he also says that, after Mimi, like I went through the grind of gaining that kind of maturity as an actor to be able to pull off such a layered character in Tere Ishq Mein.
Yeah.
So even I feel like I don't know how ready I would be before a Mimi, to do something like this, because Mukti's character is not all on paper. It doesn't have the crutches of dialogues in every scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's unsaid.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's in the eyes.
Yeah.
If you play slightly differently, she can completely be negative and you may not connect with her at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that needed me to also go through certain experiences in life and in my career to kind of come to it.
Get there, yeah. So when you got the national award, of course it's a personal high. It's a recognition for your work, your talent from the government of India, all that. But does it mean something in the industry that you're a national award winning actor?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure people sort of look at you differently. I'm sure a lot of people who had not seen Mimi probably went back and saw it.
Okay, because of the news.
Yeah, because we want to know, okay, what was so special about this.
Right.
So I'm sure people start looking at you differently in terms of they now don't want to come to you with a less kind of a role. They feel like you may not want to do it. So that's also a plus. But yeah, I think the way people perceive me as an actor kind of a little bit changed. I felt it in the energies. I felt it in the kind of films that were coming my way. Yeah.
So it's not just a certificate and a medal. It means something in the ecosystem.
Of course it does. I feel like when you do any film where you're really, really spoken about and people sort of have appreciated you in any form, your performance kind of makes people look at you differently.
Yeah.
It always happens. And with Mimi, it was a lot more. And I think more than that, to be honest, what it did for me was that I was suddenly I was very secure after that. It gave me a sense of peace where I wasn't anymore wanting to just prove myself. And, when you come from a non-film background, for a very long time, you're wanting to prove your worth, your value. You're wanting to show that I can do more, You want certain kind of roles and they only come your way when when people kind of believe in your talent or see it. So it gave me a sense of peace where I was like, I don't want to prove it to anyone anymore, and I really want to enjoy what I'm doing, and now I want to do what my gut says.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, let's do a project because it's going to be a blockbuster hit, you know. So I started looking at things differently.
So, when your parents, who've seen you as a shy child, when they see you in a Mimi or a Tere, Ishq mein, what do they say? They're like, who's this person? Does that happen?
Yeah, my sister actually said that this time. I mean, of course, every time they watch my movie, the next morning we have a chai session in the morning where we sort of discuss, and I want them to be very open about what they like, what they didn't like. Sometimes my sister says, you know, that scene I felt like I didn't feel it completely. Very critical, but very good session, I feel. Good session. Yeah.
And it's also a safe space. So
yeah, and it's lovely because I feel like they are the ones who ground you, you know. And Tere Ishq mein, I mean, of course, my parents loved my performance, and my sister said I couldn't see Kriti in for a second.
Okay.
So that was a big compliment because she can be the one who's like, you know, in that scene you were not that great. So she was like, I couldn't see you at all, and I don't know how you did it. So, yeah.
So when you go through these ups and downs of a character like Mukti, like you said that, you know, you had the terrace scene that was really intense, and that you started finding the present day character of Mukti when you did that. But as a whole, how did you find the character? Because there have been people who are saying that, like you said, she is somebody who instigated something in a guy who did not know better. There are others who are like, you know, they're taking sides.
Yeah.
How do you find the character?
Firstly, I love the debate.
Okay.
I love that people are sort of taking sides. And I think this is one of the rare films where, you know, yes, we're showing a lot of toxicity in different ways. People can unknowingly also be toxic, and some can very visibly be toxic. But there is this female point of view that's also calling out the toxicity and not just falling for the guy or saying yes to him immediately, you know. She is telling him that look at yourself, like you've burnt my house, you know. She is telling him that can you even take a no? How do I tell you?
Yeah.
So all those things, I like the fact that Mukti voices it out. And yeah, I know we've also shown the demographic difference in them, and you know, when she goes to his house. And that's a very interesting scene. Again, a scene that Aanand sir was very, you know, excited about. But I like that with her, you know, ये जो line है कि लड़कियाँ प्यार में समझदार हो जाती हैं. I think it's a very important line because I feel like men and women look at, like, when they fall in love, they behave differently at times. So many times for a guy, it's like, I love you, I want you in my life, I'll do anything for you, मैं दिल्ली जला दूँगा, you know, that दिल्ली फूँक दूँगा, whatever. And I feel like for women, when they fall in love, they straight go also to marriage, and they imagine a life with that person. And there is a certain ideal kind of a guy that you imagine your life with, you know, who's safe, who you feel comfortable with, who you feel can take care of you, you know, your safe space. And here, it's such a complicated character and the way the story's been written, because I used to ask Aanand sir that when did she fall for him? Kab hua pyar? And he was always like, you know, you can never know one moment where you fall for someone. It's these little moments where you start caring, and first you say that you care about him, you care deeply about him. Then you're almost in denial that it's not love. You know, I just care about him. But there are so many things that Mukti does, even on the terrace scene. She says that she doesn't love him, but her eyes sometimes are saying something else. Before that, when he comes after 3 years or so, she first thought is, oh my God, he cleared prelims. She goes and she is emotional and happy about it. She doesn't care about her fiancé being there, her father being there, 100 people being there. She goes and hugs him and holds him. Why? Because she doesn't want him to spoil his life.
Right.
She cares about him that much.
Yeah.
At the end of the terrace scene, she says, go from that side because there are cops. He says, तुझे फर्क पड़ता है? And she says, नहीं. In the next moment, when he's getting beaten up, she's weeping. So फर्क तो पड़ता है. So here there was a character who was sometimes saying something but actually feeling something else, completely opposite, which I found very interesting for me, because there are times when we are conflicted between our heart, our emotions, and what our brain tells us to do. That this is going to be bad for your life.
Yeah.
You know, you both are very different from each other. So I think for me, Mukti was a lot about her layers. The only thing I felt was that she's someone who's very empathetic. She's a psychology student. She understands people. She's empathetic towards them, including Shankar. She doesn't want to hurt them intentionally, ever. You know, so every time she's trying to make sure that he's okay or he does something with his life, you know, she's trying to push him. She breaks down when he's getting beaten up. So I feel like there's a lot of honesty and empathy in her, which is something that I carry throughout. Whether she's coming across negative in a scene or positive in a scene, whatever. But I feel like there was this honesty to the character, which I wanted to just hold on to. And actually, I personally want to talk about the scene that Aanand sir was excited about, which is also where I found the character a little bit. I'm a very strong-headed girl, and I feel like Mukti is also. And I was like, why does she not tell him that I don't love you? You know, वो आता है kerosene डालता है उसके सर पे अपने सर पे. She's looking at him and she is feeling that I can't be with this person. She goes to his house probably to tell him that, you know, we're very different and I don't feel that way for you. Why does she not say it? And I kept telling Aanand sir ki, why does she not say it? And he's like, you come to that house and then you'll know. And I went to the house and I know he was trying to show it for a certain reason. But I went and I was like, oh, okay, so am I going to talk to him in front of his father? So he said, yeah. I said, but shouldn't he give us some space and like go into a corner because it's a very personal conversation? He was like, there are no corners. And he was just there. And I just suddenly felt like, how can she have this conversation in front of him? She can't. And that's what made that scene beautiful. And I remember Himanshu had not completely written the dialogues. He was still writing it. And I just said, Himanshu, I don't know what you write, but just don't give me complete sentences. Like, just give me broken sentences. Because I feel like she's not going to be able to say the full thing. But as an audience, you should get to know what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a certain amount of honesty in that scene where you feel bad for him, but you also get her.
Yeah.
You know, which is what Aanand has tried to do in many scenes.
And without that scene, the scene where she calls him to her Alishan Bangla or the big house, right? And she kind of is behind her father.
Yeah.
The minute that happened, I was like, wow, you know, this is what's going to happen. Because you sense that, because she's not standing by him or whatever it is, she goes and stands behind her father because she's kind of shooting from her father's shoulder. She's using her father to kind of, dude, you're not understanding what I'm trying to tell you, or at least what I'm trying to hint at. Maybe my dad can convince you that, you know, that this is what the situation is. And at that point, he still doesn't understand because in a way, just like you say, your character is naive, his character is also blissfully, you know, like naive.
He doesn't realize that she doesn't love him.
Yeah.
She's not once said it to him.
No, I'm saying without that, her awkwardness in that scene, in the room, Mukti would have come across as a very cold-hearted person in that scene.
Absolutely.
Because you sense that awkwardness and her inability to directly tell him that this is why. Yeah, dude, I can't say this myself. I need my dad's help. That's why that scene, you don't feel bad for her.
Yeah, and she's a college girl, you know. She like, sometimes you don't know how to handle a situation and you're like, just, can you come meet my dad?
Yeah.
And she is standing behind her father, but when the father's getting very rude, she's also like, calm down a little bit. So, you know, there's also a part of her that doesn't want him to go through this.
Yeah.
but he needs to listen.
hard
Maybe,
lesson.
yeah, maybe. And immediately after that, she tries to stop him from trying for IS because she feels like he's going to ruin his life because he'll never be able to get through.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very conflicting. She can also let go of him and be like, he's never going to pass that test. So let him try, keep trying. But there's a part of her that doesn't want him to ruin his life also.
Is there any part of your life that is similar to Mukti's life? If it's not too personal, that is.
No, not really. But I understand sometimes when you feel, and you know, women end up sometimes falling for a so-called bad boy.
Dangerous guy, yeah.
Who you feel like is changing in your presence. And you feel that change. And you feel that you have that effect on that person. You know, and sometimes you feel so empathetic towards that person and you feel like you care again. There's a very thin line between being in love and just caring about someone and loving someone.
Yeah.
And I feel sometimes you can get confused in that situation, and many women, you know, sometimes want to fix someone and, you know, make him better. And you feel like you have that influence of that person where that person can get better.
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous space to be in, you know, and it happens with a lot of women. And also one shouldn't try for anyone to change.
Yeah.
You know, in love, like my first thing that I feel is that never try and change the person, because if you're trying to change anybody, you're not really in love with them.
How do you see the fact that, I don't know, can we talk about spoilers?
Okay.
Okay. How do you feel about the fact that Mukti is pregnant and conflicted about the baby and smoking while she's pregnant and things like that? You know,
She's
like
not smoking. She drinks once.
she drinks, yeah.
Once.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly speaking, she became an alcoholic first. Then she got liver cirrhosis. And then she got pregnant. So it's also a struggle of alcoholism in general.
Yeah.
Where she, of course, she's very, she cares about the baby a lot. And we open the scene with her not going for the alcohol, you know. So she's trying to stop herself and you can see her struggle.
Yeah.
And then there's just one point in the airbase where, you know, sometimes in anxiety, it kind of gets the best of you and that she's not able to control and she picks that bottle up. It was conflicting, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, if you try and understand alcoholism, it's sort of, you can sometimes not have control on yourself. Mm-hmm. It can take over your mind and your ability to think. But at the same time, when she's begging for him to stay, when she's come all the way here, faced everything, you know, faced him, and the way she begs him to stay, she's just worried about her child. Sometimes I used to question Aanand sir on this, and he would be like, you know, for a mother, that thing of who's gonna take care of my baby is a very big thing.
Yeah.
You know, you may not understand it because you're not a mother, but any mother would get that. But that mixed with the alcoholism just gets in a very tricky space, and that's why these characters are messy.
But what do you make of, like, a lot of people, see, explain this to me, because I understand the term dysfunctional relationship, right? Because that's like a lot of relationships are dysfunctional, not necessarily romantic relationship. It could be father-child, it could be anything, mother-child, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Friendships can be dysfunctional and all that. It basically means that this is not proving to be a healthy relationship in terms of, you know, if there's something. At what point, where do we differentiate a dysfunctional relationship from a toxic relationship? Because when I see a lot of the articles today, they talk about toxicity. That's the word that comes up a lot.
I just feel like toxic is a term that's just being used a lot now. But otherwise, I mean, toxicity is more from one side, I feel, in most cases. I may be wrong. But dysfunctional is like you're just both not good for each other, you know. You're both sort of not bringing the best.
One-sided. Like, for instance, a lot of if you read Arundhati Roy's memoir about she and growing up with a mother who was not exactly loving to her and was all kinds of dysfunctional, it's like a child growing up with a mother like that, you really like kind of see what the effect that a mother can have on a child. So yeah, I think
Then maybe toxic is a word that's used more for like romantic relationships.
maybe, yeah. So do you think these two are toxic?
In different ways. See, if you ask me, honestly, I know Mukti's reasons for everything. So I never used to find, and Dhanush and I would sometimes say, Dhanush would be like, these both are such like toxic, messy people. And I was like, I don't think Mukti is messy. But someone else might look at it differently.
Yeah.
I feel, yeah, she should have said things to him earlier. Why didn't she? You know, I always question that. But then she was in situations where she couldn't, or she was feeling something that she was running away from. You know, even when he says "I love you" to her,
Yeah.
she doesn't know what to say, and you can see that. And then someone calls her out, and she runs to this other guy. She's running away from answering.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't know what to say. But why does she not know what to say? She should say, I don't,
Yeah.
or I'm so sorry, or whatever. But
Yeah.
sometimes you don't find the courage in that moment.
Yeah.
And when she hugs him, you see her face, which just says a completely different story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in that way, sort of not giving him an answer when she should have, you can consider that. I feel like we loosely use the word toxic now.
How long did Mukti stay with you after shooting Wrapped? Was it easy to
See,
let
I
go of the
know her
character?
very well.
Right.
So now for me, if Mukti is doing anything else, I can be her. But I don't think she stayed with me after the Wrap. I think the time when we were shooting the climax was very hectic. That was very draining, and just physically, mentally, every day we're doing like these hectic crying
Another delivery
scenes.
scene.
Delivery scene, you're supposed to be sick, so you know your energy needs to be at that level. Then at a point there's blood all over, you know, so I was roaming around like this khuni gudiya on the set. So I think those scenes were like really draining, emotionally, mentally. I used to come back home really like, my parents would be like, are you okay? So I think that portion took a toll on me, but not the character overall.
Any film becoming a success is a good thing because you worked very hard for it, and you know it feels good that the reward is that it's not just you that had a good time on the sets, but now the audience is kind of liking it as well. But is there a special kind of happiness when something like Tere Ishq becomes a hit?
I think you feel that with every film.
Every film. So it's the
Every
same.
film. It's the same, but I think the kind of love that Tere Ishq Mein has gotten just feels a little different. You know,
Different how?
You know, it's very rare to get like critical acclaim and such praises for your performance in a very like deep manner.
Okay.
You know, when people connect to the things that you were trying to do, the nuances, the things which were not spoken, and they got it. You know, that satisfaction for any actor. When they see my layers that I was hoping someone catches, and they do. I think that is a different level of satisfaction. And when that is combined with box office numbers, I think it just feels very different. And also because it's not a very usual story.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to do something different. I think Aanand sir was very fearless when he made this film, and something like that sort of connecting with the audiences. Even the kind of messages that I've not gotten one-line messages. You know, people are wanting to discuss the character, and that's a very different feeling. So yeah, I mean, I'm still sort of absorbing it, still sort of really doing well at the box office. So
When this is being called a spiritual sequel to Ranjana, what are your thoughts on that film? Because that film also invited a lot of talk about right, wrong, you know, stalking, this, that, all those kinds of things, right? What do you think about?
I think those are, you know, we always have these thoughts and conversations much later. If when you're watching the film, if it makes you feel something and you go on a journey and a trip with these characters and you surrender and you feel, I think that's a big win. I feel Ranjana is also a film that has stayed with a lot of people. You know, you remember the scenes, you remember the dialogues. You feel bad again for both of them somewhere. even though he's been so wrong, you feel for him at the end. Why?
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful.
And there's that element of atonement there also, there's
Yeah.
like because he knows he's really crossed a line.
Yeah.
And,
And that's not glorified, there's a part of karma that plays a subtle role.
Yeah.
Even in this film.
Yeah.
You're not saying, oh, they lived happily ever after. They don't. So there's
It's
a
very
certain...
self-destructive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a deeper emotion that what a lot of us go through, and that's why it moves us so much, because it's just so heavy. Like, I've had people who sometimes have messaged me saying that it took me a day to kind of write this message to you because I was still heavy with it.
Processing, yeah. Nazar Laina from Ranjana is one of my favorite A.R. Rahman songs. This year, when YouTube kind of compiled a year-end list, that song showed up. What is your favorite song from Tere, Ishq mein?
Oh, that's a tough one because I love Tere Ishq mein title track a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like the song that we actually shot on was Usse Kehna.
Okay.
That was the only song that was ready when we were shooting. And every time I wanted to just feel the longing or her love in any scene, I would just tell Sir, just play that song. Because it just instantly gets you there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's right. When you're discovering yourself like this, and when you're on like a set like Crew, where there's Tabu and there's Kareena who've done it before you, are you a curious student? Does that student in you crop up and say, do you go up to them between takes and say, do you ask them, how was this done? How was that done? How was it playing this character?
No, I didn't do that. I should have done that.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't do that?
No,
Okay.
I didn't do that. Of course, there were times where I was like, oh my God, I'm performing with these two. There were times where I've been a huge fan of Geet. Jab we met, I've done so many auditions before in life, on her scenes. So there were these moments where I'm performing with Geet. I used to kind of take that in. But I had fun. I think I was just, feeding off two amazing actors, and I loved the space that we were all in.
Yeah.
It was not a very serious space. And I love that three women were coming together in a comedy film.
A heist kind of zone.
It doesn't happen so often.
Yeah.
Usually it's a very serious subject if there are like three women. So I was just enjoying that. But apart from that, I'm a curious kid in general. I feel like in every set in general, I like asking questions.
Are there, you mentioned Chalbaz, you mentioned some other movie where there's a double role, I think.
Returns. Tanu.
Yeah. No, but do you like, are there older actors that came before you that you kind of, for instance, when I interviewed Shefali Shah, she said that she was a huge fan of Sridevi because she had never seen somebody do something so crazy and so everything else, like she all around kind of a thing. And she said the one thing that really amazed her was her ability to do the most ridiculous things as convincingly as possible. So that was something that for her was a kind of a benchmark, I guess.
Yeah.
So who would be a benchmark for you? Like, was there a benchmark at all?
I don't think I ever had a benchmark, but from my childhood, I've been a Madhuri Dixit fan.
Okay.
So when it comes to dancing, she's definitely my benchmark.
Right. Which is the favorite song of yours?
I used to always dance on Akhiyan Milaun Kabhi Akhiyan Churaun.
Oh, okay.
Since I was like a kid, like I was 5 or 6 or something, and I would dance like everywhere. Lots of songs, yeah. I feel like I know all her songs. It's
Humko Aajkal Hai Intezar.
Humko Aajkal Hai, Badi Mushkil. There's Dhak Dhak. I got the opportunity of doing Dhak Dhak karne laga in Teri Baaton Mein in the climax.
Okay.
Which was such a high for me. I think it was freezing in Jaisalmer. I was wearing a lehenga, and everybody was dying of the cold, and I had a Storm fan on because I was like, no, she had a Storm fan on, So I want you to do it like exactly
the way.
Now she's a robot.
Yeah,
she's going to
yeah.
copy it exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, this is what I used to do.
Yeah.
I would love to do this.
Yeah.
So I think, and I love. She has this grace and this poise and this warmth and still the naughtiness in certain songs. And I feel like she dances with the whole body, including her face, you know, and that's what I love about her.
And also that there was that generation where songs and dances meant a lot. Today they're like after end credits or something like that. You know, you don't find, of course there are films that you have them, but what was your big song and dance moment?
My big song and dance moment? Param Sundari, I think, was the one. And I didn't expect it to go that viral at that point, but it did. And considering Mimi was releasing on OTT, you know, we didn't know what was going to happen. But the step got really famous. It's a song that I'm known by, you know, when people introduce me anywhere. So that for sure. And I also loved dancing on Teri Baaton Mein. You know, these are two songs where I kind of, you know, when you're practicing a step and you already know you're enjoying it. So these were the two.
Is there a role that made you really afraid when it was narrated to you?
I think somewhere I look for that.
Okay.
I mean, I look for at least one scene in a film. That kind of course, you can't get it in every film, but especially if it's an intense film or, you know, I look for at least one scene that I feel is so challenging that I don't know how I'm going to pull it off.
Nice.
And that I think somewhere drives me. Dopati had this one scene where she, you know, completely is damaged and she's talking about, she's almost becoming her mother and she's slipping in and out of it.
Right.
While the other me, which is Shelley, is also there. And there's nobody else in that scene. And it's such an intense scene that, you know, you have to also pre-plan and block every character's performance. Where am I going to put a hand?
Yeah.
When am I going to pick her up?
Yeah.
You know,
because
so
it's two of you.
It's two of me,
Yeah.
so I have to rehearse it before. It can't be as organic that I have just reacted to an actor and improvised and something happened.
Yeah.
It can't.
Yeah.
But still, it has to feel fresh and not rehearsed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her psyche was just very scary. I was petrified of that scene. And I remember we shot that scene on like the 4th or the 5th day of shoot. Straight, you know. And I think once I did that scene, I was like, now I can do anything in this film.
Nice.
That way, like, I feel like Teri Baaton Mein, the malfunction.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to malfunction, you know, because I was like, how am I talking fast? How am I going to talk slow? You know, there's a very thin line. It can look very gimmicky. You know, it's tough to do that convincingly. So for me, that was very, very important.
Yeah.
Even in Bhediya, I feel the scene where you get to know that she's the Bhediya. That scene, again, it had no reference point for me. So I was like, I don't know how to do this.
So the other scenes, let's say Crew, not that it's an inferior movie or something like that, but because it's a little different zone, right?
Yeah.
So when you see the script, do you start visualizing how you're going to do the thing? Is that?
I think a little bit when I'm hearing any story, I start seeing
Doing that,
myself
same,
in it.
okay.
But then for certain scenes, you have to also kind of go back and break that.
Okay.
Where, okay, this is the
not
most...
go for the most obvious thing.
Yeah, if this has come to me the first, let me find a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Yeah. Can you give me an example of something that you did that way?
You know, sometimes you also take something from a director, which is great. Like, I remember... so, actually, in Tere, Ishq mein, the scene that where I'm talking to Jassi, and I think it's her most... the first time where you actually get to know what she did, why she did, and what she was feeling.
This is after the petrol bombs and all that, right?
After the terrace scene, after petrol bombs, she's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And she's saying a lot of things in that, you know, where she's talking about why she did and how she went to his house.
Yeah.
Why, you always ask, why did she tell his father to insult him?
Yeah.
Or, you know, why is she standing there? All her whys are sort of answered in that scene. And it ends with her getting almost panicky and saying that let's get married. And before that she says that, you know, he asked me if I could, तू या तो मुझे गोली मार दे या चूम ले या मेरे साथ कूद जा. And what's scary is कि एक सेकंड के लिए मुझे लगा मैं तीनों कर सकती हूँ उसके साथ. It's
That's a fabulous scene. And
Yeah,
a fabulous
but
line.
it's-
Yeah.
It's an amazing line, but
Yeah.
you just feel like, oh my god, that like what state of mind is she
Yeah,
in?
yeah.
So I remember I was kind of playing it a little. I felt like she's not all there in her head. You know, that's how I perceived the scene. Because I felt if she's saying this, she's just really traumatized with what happened yesterday, and she's scared. And I was doing it in a little like not all there, slightly cuckoo sort of a feel to the character. And Aanand sir came and he was like, don't do this. So I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I know what you're trying to do, but if you do this, she's going to look completely negative. So I was like, really? And then he's like, just be honest.
Okay.
Just, I want her to be absolutely vulnerable, honest, just pouring her heart out. So and that shifted my energy completely. It really became a very different scene. And I'm glad it did, because I feel like she needs to look very vulnerable for you to feel for her there. You know, and you should understand that when she's saying that his love was so scary and मुझे नहीं चाहिए थी ऐसी life. You should as a woman also sometimes understand कि यार गलत तो नहीं बोल रही है.
Yeah.
So that like sometimes it changes.
Yeah. I saw a couple of interviews of yours in print magazines, and there was less about you as an actor, and which is your core, which is why you're here.
Yeah, of course.
But there's also a lot of paraphernalia about you as an actor, right? For example, the way you dress, what you're wearing, who you're wearing, all that kind of stuff. Kriti Sanon stepped out in something,
Yeah.
shimmering whatever, something. And there was one interview that I saw where, as in a print magazine, where there was a credit for photographs, fashion director, makeup, hair, assistant, stylist, production set manager, location. Does all this, you enjoy this, or does that get too much? That
I don't
noise?
enjoy it at all.
You don't enjoy it at all?
I don't enjoy it at all.
Okay, your
so
PR is getting really worked up right now because of the-
you've pressed this nerve right now. Like I feel, and I mean, I no offense to anybody. I feel, you know, I love
and
my
it's
team.
a part of your job, yeah.
I love my team and it's a part of my job. But sometimes all you want to do is act, you know, and you just want to do that. And I feel like as you kind of go through life, and of course in the beginning you do everything, you know, you want to be seen everywhere, you need people to notice you, you want to be known for your fashion. But after a point, na, ek wo thakaan aati hai, where you're like, now this is fluff for me, you know, I don't enjoy it. I don't like sitting on that hair makeup chair. I do not like clicking pictures for every outfit that I'm getting dressed for. I'm also not a very socially active person. I'm not, I don't like...
Like you mean social media?
No, like, I don't like going out so much.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm more of a homebody. I like being in my PJs. I like being like this, sitting with my legs, you know, on the
Right.
top of the chair.
Your long legs.
Long legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel all of this gets very tiring. I think it's the most exhausting part of our job. And sometimes it comes to you and you're like, you know, I don't want to go to this one award function or this one party. It's fine. I don't feel like. There are times when I suddenly snap and I'm like telling my stylist, I don't want to click pictures. I'll buy the outfit. Forget it. But you can't always buy the outfit because it kind of gets too much at some point.
But will you be judged if, let's say, you went into, like, let's say you came for an interview with a very prestigious magazine, whatever, and you just wore a very comfortable but good-looking outfit? Will you be judged for that?
See, that's me right now.
Yeah.
In an interview, I don't think
Or an awards function, it matters?
Award function is a red carpet event, then you have
Right.
to kind of dress for the event.
Yeah.
And if you are finally going to be dressed, then you'd rather dress well.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing it, then do it
Do it
well.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that. But I miss, you know, when I see the 90s Filmfare Awards and all these award
I've heard
shows.
you say this, yeah.
Oh my God, I miss that. I'm like, I wish that was the time where people were just doing their own hair makeup and wearing their own clothes and nobody bothered. Somebody is coming in denims and a top, somebody is wearing a sari. There's no like dress code.
But don't you think this is also beneficial in a way, because there are a lot of people who want to enjoy the beauty of an actor or an actress that is enhanced by all this stuff?
If you ask me honestly, I think it's an overdose.
Really?
Yeah.
I think your Instagram, not yours necessarily, but there's lots of Instagram
But I
people
feel like there was more craze and mystery and
the mystery part,
you know,
yeah.
the unattainable kind of a feeling with a star,
Yeah.
which I think right now is kind of going away because everyone is seeing them so often. You know, you would rarely see a star. We would wait to watch an award show on the TV because
Yeah.
we had not seen them perform or we had not seen them talk anywhere. You know, there used to be very few interviews, video interviews. I feel right now there's an overdose. You're seeing them everywhere
Yeah.
and on their Instagram and on some award show
Yeah.
and getting dressed 500 times in a year, you know. So I feel it's an overdose.
You've said that you're a proper Leo that likes to be in control.
Oh.
Are you an OCD person?
No,
Okay.
I'm not an OCD. It depends. It depends on what we're talking about. Like, for example, very little things like my parting going straight. I don't know why, it's a thing. Like, I want my hair parting to be straight. I don't want it to be messy at times. But otherwise, if you see my house and like my room, I'm not someone who's very particular about things.
Okay.
Not at all. But I like to be in control when I'm doing something. Like when it's like I'm someone who, if I'm doing anything, whether it's acting, whether it's my brand, whether, you know, I want to give it 100% and I want it to be right.
Right.
So I sometimes get very involved in very minute things. Say with my brand hyphen, I would like really get into the detail of font, you know, and what color and this shade and that shade and this product and little bit hydration, amp it up. So sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it's not, because sometimes you need to kind of let go of certain things and leave it to other people and be okay with it.
But can you switch off once you get off a film set?
If the scene has, if I'm not satisfied with the scene, I take it back home.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm satisfied, then I'm like completely
You can come
out
home
of
and
it.
just chill. and-
Yeah. But I'm very critical of myself, and I often sort of really start critiquing my performance immediately after, which is
But
not
is
a good
that
trait.
helpful?
No, it's not. Yeah, you
Right.
can't go back and do it again.
Yeah.
But it stays with me. It bothers me. If
you
I
can't
feel
ask
like
the director, like, let's do it again kind of a thing?
no, you do at times, but at times, you know, it's not the day where it's not, you feel it's not your best. And you know, sometimes I feel that as an actor, you see your total performance. Director seeing the edit. So they are like, but I'm not going to use you in this bit. I'm going to be on the other person's face.
Yeah.
But I want to feel it throughout.
Yeah.
So sometimes you ask for another take. I always do when I feel. But sometimes you just feel, you come back home and you're like, oh, you know, I should have actually done that there.
Yeah.
So there are ideas that come to you later at times. Yeah.
You keep a diary. What do you write in it?
I've not written for a while right now. I used to journal a lot in the middle. COVID time, I used to journal a lot. It helped me. I do still sometimes write poetry.
Nice.
Yeah. Earlier I used
English,
to...
Hindi?
Mostly English.
Okay.
But I've also written a few in Hindi. But I used to write earlier longer poetries, and now I sort of sometimes write a phrase or like 2 lines or like 4 lines. So I left it in the middle and then I came back to it during COVID because I feel like there was no channel to kind of put my emotions, which has become acting. So that was not happening back then. So yeah, but that's something I like writing. Also sometimes I've also tried this with certain characters where you sort of become the character and you start writing the diary as them,
Right.
which I think is interesting sometimes.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because some of that seeps into you, I guess.
Yeah, you know, sometimes a lot of it is actually in your head. It never really translates on screen, but it just makes the character a lot more real for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, when you look back at the girl who did Heropanti, let's just look at your Hindi film career.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
You'll find your way.
Okay.
Just keep learning.
Okay.
I would just say that because she was a baby and she didn't know much.
Right.
And I think just keep learning, keep growing, keep getting better in your own performance and craft, and be open and be patient.
Okay.
Because I know there was a phase in my life before Mimi where I was very restless because I felt like I could do a lot more, and in the beginning you just choose from the opportunities you have in front of you, which are not so many. So sometimes you got to just be patient and be like, oh, it's going to come at the right time.
Yeah. So finally we have this IMDb segment. So what are your 5 10 on 10 films, all-time great films that you want people to see?
Hindi or
Any
anything?
language.
Anything. They'll be very generic ones because I'm a very commercial movie watcher.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's no need to get defensive about that.
No, I'm just thinking. I love The Notebook.
I think it's made a lot of people cry.
Yeah, it's like that classic love story that you just feel like never gets old.
Yeah, and you just mentioned a while back that you wanted to do a real love story.
Yeah. I always give that example. I'm like, it's a story we know, but it can be done in so many ways.
Yeah.
Then I love 3 Idiots. I think it's my all-time favorite. One of my favorite films.
Is like, why?
I just feel it's such a complete film. It kind of makes you feel, it makes you cry, it makes you laugh. It, you go along with them in their journeys. It gives you certain messages, from their lives, and it's got a rewatch sort of a feel to it. You can watch it again and again. I love Bridges of Madison County.
Wow.
I love that movie. I think
Again, because a love story?
Yeah, it is a love story, but it's so beautifully done. Something which is not morally right, when you start questioning and you feel like it's okay. Like we are so rigid in our moral compasses sometimes, where like, nahi, ye to galat hai. This is not okay. Or when you start understanding human emotions there, and suddenly your moral compass is not acting anymore.
Yeah.
It's one of those films, and I think it's beautiful performances.
Yeah.
And Meryl Streep is just like so real and so outstanding in it. I feel it's a masterclass.
Yeah, and also the other reason I like it so much is because you rarely find that zone of a slightly mature romance, where romance is always a very young person's kind of a thing, in the movies at least, because I think people want to see young and attractive people in love, whereas this is, so...
And you just flow with them.
Yeah.
I just remember scenes from that film.
Yeah.
Which one?
You've done 3.
No, I've done 3 only. I'm trying to think more Hindi. I can't think right now. Okay, I'm a DDLJ fan. Yeah, I think it's my all-time favorite.
How many times have you seen it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
More than 50.
Okay, and why?
Yeah, I just feel again it's a love story, but it's when you remember dialogues, when you remember scenes, when and I feel like in India, Hindi films were just so good with emotions and relationships. So whether it's your the father-daughter relationship, then there's a son and father relationship with Shah Rukh. The way it kind of goes across like different places, the way they fall in love, the way it kind of respects Indian values, but also doesn't make you feel like outdated. You still feel like you're with the characters. I felt like that's again a film that I would, if someone wants to watch a Hindi movie that I'm proud of, it's definitely that.
Okay.
And it's turned into a play, Broadway.
I think so. Yeah.
See, these may not be my top 5, they're the 5 that are coming to my head right now.
Yeah.
I also feel it's a very cheeky film, but I love Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
And I'm so happy that they're making part 2. Again, it's my comfort film. It's like Friends for me. It's a film that I can go back and watch again and again. And it makes me happy. And I feel it's got amazing performances, and it's not heavy, and it's still engaging.
Thank you so much, Kriti. It's been a pleasure talking to you. even though it's been 11 years into your
I
career.
know.
I know it's been a long time, but better late than never, I guess. But I really want to tell you that the way you explained certain acting choices of yours and how you got through those were really helpful and to help understand an actor's craft. And you did a really great job. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
டார்லிங் சோலார் 20,500 முன்பணத்தில் இப்பொழுது சோலார் மூலம் இலவச மின்சாரம்.
Aha, no compromise. உங்க சைடுலயும் எங்க சைடுலயும். It's a GT promise.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.